morning. Good morning. It is now time for Let's Talk Real Life with Nada Manning. I would say it's the greatest late night talk show on the planet. I am your co host, Coach Vernon Garrison. What a pleasure to spend this moment in time with you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is WBIS LP Awesome Radio. That's right, Awesome Radio. You can find us at www online at www.bisawesomeradio.org. You can go up there and find a media player and you can hit the play button and you can listen to the show live. That media player will take care of your needs 24 hours a day. You can download us at the Google Play Store or the App Store, depending on what device you have. And you can just listen to us 24 hours a day via your device. Now, that is certainly awesome. It really is. So, welcome, world viewers. Welcome to those who are watching the rebroadcast on GPAT 23, a local information channel here. Uh, Also on the Facebook and social media live. Sure enough, we have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful message ready for you. In fact, if you're keeping up with the episodes, it would be a great, 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 great lesson plan by the time we get to the end. But I'm going to let the host give you the status, give you the subject. Ladies and gentlemen, show some love for Miss Nada Manning, the host of Let's Talk Real Life with Nada Manning. If she can speak at the moment, you need a moment. You got some water. Bless you. Sure enough. All right. Well, we're getting vocals ready, y'all. We are getting ready. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, here is Miss Nada Manning.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure. As always, we're here to continue talking about relationships. Relationships can go on and on and on and on and on forever because relationships, they go on for life. All kinds of relationships. All kinds of relationships. Good ones, bad ones, short ones, long ones, relationships. That's what makes the world turn. Relationships, how we interact with other people everywhere, all the time, every day is some type of interaction, folks. But we're going to narrow it down. We've been talking about the the adolescents. We're going to finish them up tonight, and we're going to move on to those high schoolers. So um, just a small recap of what's been going on
Oh,
with
yeah, I got it.
with these adolescents. We've been talking about some relationships or friendships that don't last and why. Why don't these relationships last with this age group? And it could be any age group. Like I said, as I move forward to the next segment, the next episode, as Coach was mentioning, with the next age group, um, they still don't last. They don't last even when you get old. Senior age, sometimes relationships just don't last. So we want to talk about some things, recapping from last week, last week as to why some of these relationships don't last. Um, I mentioned last time about anger among the teens. Um, we talked about suicide among the teens. We talked about finances among the teens. We talked about loyalty, commitment among the teens. Commitments, no matter what, be there in a relationship. That's a commitment. You are committed to stand no matter what. And again, this can relate to any age group, married folks, single folks, older folks, younger folks. Being committed is across the board. making up your mind that you're going to stick it out no matter what, through thick and thin. That's a tall order, given some of the personalities that we all have, some of the attitudes that we all have. That's a tall order. Stick with it no matter what, no matter how rough it gets, no matter how narrow that road is. Squeeze through that road anyway. Because why? You go on down toward the end, at some point, it's going to widen up where you're going to have more room. So you won't be so cramped in that relationship. But you have to stick it out. And then you ask yourself, depending on the person, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth your time and effort to stick it out with that person or that group? It don't have to be a person. It could be a group. It could be a duo. It could be a trio. You know, but it definitely have to be another person of some kind. One person, two people, you know, three, four, a classroom even. Do you want to students at this age group? As we go on into the high schoolers, I'm thinking the high schoolers still work where you change classes periodically during the day, and you get different students in that classroom, which is an opportunity to develop more relationships with other people, other students of your same age. And you do this as you go on through the school system and through college and through life. Those relationships matter. Who you choose to have a relationship with matters. But guess what? It's your choice. You get to choose. Once you become of age, like adolescents, preteens, going on into high school, you get to choose who you want to be friends with, who you want to have a relationship with, and what kind of relationship you want to have. As we move into adulthood, at some point, do we want to have a business relationship? Do we want to have a buddy relationship? Do we want to have what I want to call it, a neighborly type relationship? Do we want to have an intimate relationship? Do we want to have a permanent relationship? But those things can apply at a younger age. It does not have to be grown-ups. You know, when you become teenagers, that's your dating age. You get to choose who you want to date. And some teens choose not to date at all. That's their choice. But okay, at some point, Mr. or Miss Teen, say around 16, 17 years old, you beginning to date for some families. And some youngsters at that age, especially girls, they are not in such a hurry to date. I don't know about the boys. Maybe Coach might talk about them a little bit, but with these girls at this going into this teen, you know, they some girls that, you know, back in my day, which that's obsolete now because times are so much different now than they were then. Some of these young folks might call that ancient times. You know, that was back then. And no such thing. But my point is, relationships are relationships. And we either make them or break them. We're going to have good ones and bad ones. But guess what? As we go through these relationships, we do learn some things. And we're supposed to grow, folks, at any age. We're supposed to learn something from that relationship, whether we're going to continue in it or break away from it or gradually thin out from it, but yet still be communicative in the relationship. But we're supposed to be learning all the time. And what are you learning? You're learning your tolerance. How much can you tolerate? How much can you forgive? We're going to talk about that. How much can you lend a helping hand? We're going to talk about that. All of that develops a relationship. You have some relationships, even at that age of teens, where they are wanting to be friends with you, wanting to have a relationship with you, but they don't know how. Give you an example. Um, when I was, what, maybe, I guess I was about 16. Yeah, I was about 16. I was not one of those girls to just leap out, just go get one. Some of the girls that I knew did just that. Back then, they called them fast gals. That's what my grandma used to call them fast tail gals. That's what they said. I was one of them slow tail gals. I was slow. And so because I that was just my personality. I always like to think first. I was like Aristotle in the history books. I'm always thinking of something. I'm always like this and looking around and wondering what if and why. Do I really want to? Eh. Meanwhile, everybody passing me right on by. But that was my choice. That was my choice. Do I regret any of that now? Not really. Because what? I was learning not to move so fast, to think before I make a move. Now, did I always do that 100% of the time? No, no, I did not. And I don't expect you all out there listening to do that either. Because why? We all have different personalities, we all have different wants, and we all have different ways of accomplishing what we want. Amen. My name is Nada Manning. I am your host on Let's Talk Real Life show. I am talking to you about real life issues, real things that happen to us. And it's my pleasure to just open up and just say, this is what I did at such and such a time. Yes, sir.
Is it my imagination, or does your teenage years pretty much set the tone for most of your life?
Me as a person or overall?
Overall, as far as your relationships,
Yeah,
how you define your relationship initially, I guess you're conscious of it when you're, in your teenage years. I was in one before I was in the teenage years, but when you're conscious of it, you kind of see the world through your first couple of relationships. Is that true?
I think so.
With your body involved and your mind and your heart
Yeah, I
and the
think
music that's on the radio.
I think so because truth be told, um, some relationships that don't work out too well, excuse me, some relationships that don't work out too well are based on previous experience. And those previous experiences were bad experiences to that individual, so much so that it affects their future and how they set up relationships with anybody. So, to answer your question, yes, it does. How the relationship goes prematurely, meaning before marriage or before a real adulthood, it does affect the way you make decisions on who you're going to be with or how you're going to be in that relationship. You've heard some people say, and I know I have heard some people say, you know what, just because this person treated you this way does not mean I'm going to treat you that way. I'm not like that person. So don't bring what you had then into this relationship. Let that be then. Don't bring it over here because you're dealing with a different person. And it makes sense. In the back of one's mind, though, even though you might not say anything to that new relationship partner, in the back of your mind, you are still thinking about what happened then. It's kind of hard, and it depends on how devastating that experience was back then. But the maturity comes, folks, when you learn to separate, to balance it. That's why I say it's good sometimes to think about what you're thinking about. That was a topic that I had several months ago, last year. think about what you're thinking about, because you should not want to leap into anything. Take your time, but don't take forever. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense there.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
I never heard that before.
yeah. Take your time, but don't take forever, because forever is a long time, and you might be passing up something that's great for you because you so slow thinking and wondering, and time is passing by. So use some maturity. That's where your maturity level come in, when you have learned from previous experiences. And yes, you're going to try to balance it out with your existing relationship, but don't let it ruin it. And that's at any age, especially teens. Now, these teens that I'm talking about, they don't know this up front. They need someone that's where the coaches and the mentors and the parents and that authority figure in their life tell them these things. They don't know these things up front. And that's how come so many of them get in situations that is really, really rocky, and it sometimes ruin their future because of that bad choice. So anyway, um, we want to talk about, well, I've been talking about encouragements all along, how we encourage one another. That's what the show is all about, lifting one's spirit, letting them realize that whatever is going on that's bad right now is not going to last always. Consider it a learning experience. We supposed to learn and try not to make that same mistake again. Well, some of us are successful at that and some of us not. Yeah. And so some of us got to be bumped in the head, knocked down, unconscious, before we realize that choice that we made or choices that we make are not good choices. And we just don't get it. It's just, we just don't get it. So we just keep on getting knocked down. And after a while, we get knocked out and stay knocked out for a while. But that's the way life turns. That's what happens. So we're moving on now to going that extra mile to help someone. Again, these can apply to any age group. In a relationship, you think you would want to, I would think we would want to, we should want to go that extra mile to help someone, to lend a helping hand. How big or how small doesn't matter. And if you really care enough for that person that you're trying to have a relationship with, or that group, say a classroom, we're talking about these high schoolers in the classroom, you want to make your grade, and many times, as it will be when we get to the college level, the same thing. You're in a classroom and you're in a group, and it's teamwork. Well, I'm here to tell you, I was not a team player when all this team stuff first happened. Because not that I wasn't a people person, it's just that I knew how the assignment was supposed to go. And trying to get two or three other people to follow suit was sometimes very difficult to do. Was I always the team leader? No, no. And I'm glad I wasn't, because a good leader needs to learn how to be a follower first. I'll say that again. A good leader need to learn how to be a good follower first. You learn how to follow instructions and follow the directions of someone else who is in charge. And once you learn how to do that, how bad or how good that experience is, and I've had my share of both, then you decide, when you become the leader of something, what you will and will not do, what you will and will not tolerate, how you want to run things as the leader, because you saw the good, the bad, and the ugly from the other team associations. But again, all of this is relationship. Relationships does not mean it have to be intimate. Relationships can be of all levels, like I mentioned a little bit ago. We're talking school age children now. We're talking those not boyfriend girlfriend relationship. We're talking any kind of relationship, any type of commitment that you have with a person or two or a group. You got Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. You have all of those leaders that go out into the woods and do whatever they do out there. those are relationships being developed through that particular organization. And that's a good thing. I used to be a Girl Scout, and it was a learning experience. I think if I remember it, I did it for 2 years. Um, don't remember what the titles were at this point. That's been a long, long time ago. But that was a good experience, good exposure, learning how to mingle with other people of all ages, of all colors, of all persuasions. It was a good exposure. So that's what we learn as we grow older, because if we want to be successful in life, we have to learn how to have those relationships and get along. Some people say these days you go along, get along to go along to get along. That's all. That's not always good to go along, because sometimes going along is going in the wrong direction. And do you really want to get along with someone that's doing the wrong thing or going the wrong way? Teens, especially going into these gangs now. We have these teenagers, high schoolers that's involved in gangs, and they just out there because why? They feel the need of being wanted, being needed, being accepted, being cared for, because of the lack thereof outside of that gang. Now, are all gangs bad? I don't think so. I think there are some gangs that do good things. And I don't know if maybe the ones that's doing good things should be called a gang, because a gang to me have a negative connotation to it. And that's that, kind of a turnoff sometimes when you hear somebody talking about their son is involved in the gang. How about just a group, whatever that name is? Gang might not be a good choice of words, because that does not mean anything. Don't sound positive. Being
No, it don't sound positive. If there's a good gang, I don't know about them unless you're talking about the little rascals.
they don't exist anymore.
That's right.
So I guess a good word to use instead of gang then is a group.
Yeah, group or club. I think they
Yeah,
use those
club.
terms. Motorcycle club, civic club. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
something of that nature.
Um,
Association.
um, they have motorcycles out there, motorcycle clubs, and then they have motorcycle gangs, right?
Yes, that is true.
So I'm thinking that gangs, no matter what you call it, gang is a gang and has a negative connotation to
Yes, and if a gang is a good gang, I'm sure they're always trying to separate and distinguish themselves from the negative word gang, if they are a good gang,
it, if there is such a thing.
if there's such a thing. The gang might be a group of people, but we'll have to look that up.
Yeah. I think club is a better word.
Yeah.
Motorcycle club or group, or whatever it is. But anyway, um, we just want to stay away from anything that's negative as far as these youth are concerned, because uh, those youth, whatever it is that they're experiencing, they're going to carry it with them throughout life. If it's a bad thing, I like to think they're going to get rid of it and not carry on those habits, because it's just not smart. Um, Going that extra mile, like I said, for a classmate or for a stranger. How about that? Uh, or someone you know. Do you prefer in a relationship? We're talking relationships now. We want to develop relationships, and we're talking about why some relationships don't last. Because sometimes when we in those relationships, we make bad choices, as I mentioned before. Um, let's talk about the strangers that we meet. Anytime, talking about this same age group, we change classes in high school. We talking 16, 17, 18-year olds now. They're heading on towards graduation. Okay. We're done with the adolescents. We're moving on towards those getting ready to head to high school, in high school. And we're meeting more and more people every time we change a grade. We leave ninth grade, we go into 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. We meeting at least 2 or 3 new people. Some of the same people might be in the class, but there's always 2 or 3 new ones. And then we were talking a few minutes ago about gangs. I don't know a whole lot about them, but I'd like to think that they kind of be more known in the high school level, I'm thinking. When you get 17, 16, 17, 18 years old on up, when they decide that they want to be in a gang, so to speak.
And a gang, by definition, is a gang of criminals.
Okay. Well,
Criminal element.
yeah. And truth be told, some of them do get involved in that criminal stuff, unfortunately. But see, again, going back, that's the choice that they made. It's not a good choice. That's not a good choice because they're headed in the wrong direction for life. Or maybe not for life, but in life. They're heading towards that way, and hopefully they'll get out of it within a couple of years of experiencing whatever that gang does that's criminal, and they get in trouble a couple of 2, 3 times, and then, oh boy, it's on. It's not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. What are you going to do? Then they have to make a decision what they're going to do. I told mine when they got out of high school, I said, okay, you're going to have a choice to make, boys. They were 5 years apart. So the older one got it first. You have a choice to make. Either you're going to, when you finish high school, what are you going to do? You're either going to get a job, continue to go to school, or go in the service, military. What you're not going to do is sit around the house all day, every day, doing nothing. Now, you do have a break. Because you're getting out of high school, I give you a couple of months. You're in summertime. I give you a couple of months. You threw the books away. Okay, I know how that is. Just, whoo, them 12 years, man, that's over. I understand that. So I give you those summer months. You go out and relax, have a good time. Don't get any trouble. And don't bring none home. Have a good time, boys. But at the end of the summer, while you're going through the summer, I want you to be thinking about in your good times and your long times, what you're going to do come September, October. What you're going to do. You have to do something. You've sat around the whole summer now and you haven't done anything. Had a good time, relaxed, laid in the bed late, all that stuff. That's fine. I went along with all that. That's good. Mom still fix food for you, all that. But now, all that fun time is over. Now you need to make a decision. So we sit down and we have a talk. I did both of them. Like I said, they're 5 years apart, so I did both of them. By the time the younger one got ready to have his talk for the summer, the older one was already out and in college. So that's what the older one decided to do. The younger one, when he got out, he decided to go. And I wanted him to make his decision. I didn't want to make a decision for them because I said to them, you have to live with your decision. I want you old enough now, you 18, 19 years old, you can make your decision what you want to do. So I gave them all the options. This is what's going to happen. So the younger one decided to go in the military. He had enough of school. I said, okay, that's what you want to do. So you have to decide which branch. Well, Mama, I don't know which branch I want to do. I said, well, check them all out. Go to the recruiting office and check all of them and see how they sound. So lo and behold, he decided to go in the Marine.
Oh boy.
I wasn't quite surprised too much because he was a wild one. he was a daredevil.
What?
He would be the one to go in the woods and didn't have no problem, wouldn't be afraid, none of that. Now, mind you, now he was the little one. He was the littlest one between the two. He's the one that got bullied all the time. The oldest one hardly ever got bullied because he was always thick and muscular.
Oh.
But the little one, the youngest one, you wouldn't tell it now though, because he's about big as you, Coach.
Oh, and,
wow. You would never think. And my brothers tease me all the time. This is getting off the subject. How in the world did you have that little one as big as he is? I don't know how he managed to come out of you. Well, my brothers, I love them dearly. But anyway, my point is, folks, that these young people, now these are boys I'm talking now. Now, girls, you have to make a choice also. You these days girls go in the military too. Yeah, they fly airplanes, drive buses, all that. So you have to make a decision as well. You don't want to sit around and have babies. You got plenty of time for that. So you want to get yourself together first. All of this coaching and all this mentoring comes along to help you to develop to be strong, dependable, um, what's another word? Productive adults as you grow into adulthood. You're preparing yourself. Again, relationship. You can't do all of this by yourself. You're gonna meet all kind of folks out there. You get all kind of exposure once you get out of high school, going into college. You meeting folks now, not just local like it was in high school. Now you meeting folks from all over the world coming to this college. Some of them don't even speak English good, and that's a good thing. What you're doing is widening your horizon as far as meeting people is concerned. Relationships, all of that is developing relationships, and some of them work, and some of them don't. Some of them you turn your nose. I am your host, Nada Manning. I'm bringing you some news. Well, not so much news. I'm just bringing it to the surface, so to speak. I am your host, Nada Manning. I am talking on Let's Talk Real Life. And it is very, very important that you all would listen. And yes, calling in at 252-756-2008. That had not been mentioned, and I've been in the show for 30 minutes. I forgot about the phone number, but that's okay. You all been listening to me for so long. I hope you all out there are listening and enjoying what I'm saying and being able to relate to your young folks, your teenagers, your high schoolers about what's going on and how they can go about doing some things. But they don't have even though they're grown, yeah, they still need some guidance. And the guidance is as the authority figure in their life to show them and the things that they have choices to make on so that they can go on with their life and have a good productive one. Going out of your way. How about that? Even while you're at home resting during those summer months, how about doing some things around the house to help your folks out? Okay? Why do they always have to ask you to go do this and that and the other? Why don't you take the initiative when you see that it needs to be done? Go do it. Like yard work or trash or whatever it is that needs to be done around there. Fix something. All of that develops the skills in any person, whether it's a male or female. Don't just lay around and wait for them to ask you to go do it. How about going to them and say, what do you want me to do today? Well, how many young folks going to do that? Well, probably not many, but it's a good habit to have. It's a very good habit to have because what? You are now still, that relationship is very important because if you do it at home, you can do it away from home. How about being at one of your buddy's house? Maybe your buddy, you could be a friend or something or a mentor to your buddy. And you go over to your buddy's house and you see some things that need to be done around there and you say, hey, why don't we go do this and that and the other? Whatever it is. Instead of hanging out in the streets. You're developing that relationship with your buddy, and your buddy might not be exposed to that kind of behavior, which is a positive thing, and they can pick up on it. How about that? You carrying it over there to them, and you're doing two things at one time. You're having your relationship with your buddy, you're spending time with them, you're having a good time. Hey, while you're having a good time, how about going over there and handling some stuff that needs to be done outside? Might be something falling apart out there that needs to be put together. And then your authority figure come home, whoever that is, parent or grandmom or dad or whoever it is, come home, and they see that, hey, wow, you did this today. You help them and you help yourself because now you're developing your skill of workmanship, doing some things. Coach, you have a question or comment?
Well, I just like the admonition, the call to action, in the purview of talking to the audience as they watch the young people grow up, hit teenage years, they're really feeling like I do at times that you can't. They're different people. They're different culture. They're a group from outer space. How do you communicate with them? And that sort of creates a barrier, which any type of barrier is gonna, make you feel inadequate when you begin to communicate when you're not certain on how that person is feeling. So in other words, I believe we can be a little afraid of the youth fullness, to be a little intimidated by some of their knowledge, if you will, which doesn't have a whole lot of depth to it. Um, but so just looking at that group that you were referring to, those high schoolers, I'm just kind of wondering, kind of daydreaming how the parents are implementing discipline, implementing the family's goals and objectives and expectations on this group to get their education or to not get their education or to get a job, or that decision that you allowed your children to make. I would dare say it goes the same way now in a lot of families. It sounds very fundamental because you gave your child a sort of a free will. It's like, okay, you're an adult, or at this age, it's time for you to make a decision on what you want to choose career wise. One said you want to go in the military. Uh, you know, I just don't know if it goes that way now. So I'm just sort of daydreaming about parenting and what it's like sitting at the dinner table, if they even sit at the dinner table and talk
Right.
nowadays, with so many fast food joints out there. Why are you sitting at the dinner table when you just passed several food chains on the way home? So if they sit down and talk, I'm wondering how that same conversation goes about girlfriends and dating if they talk about it. You can Google what you need to know about the birds and the bees. Why are you going to ask your mom and daddy?
Again, relationship,
Yeah, amen.
relationship. If you sit down at the dinner table, you're interacting with your family, or your friend, your buddies, or whoever it is. You can be around a pool table. You can develop relationship around talking about the teenagers or the young adults. If you shoot pool or well, I guess being more in the sports of talking about, you don't sit around too much playing football and all that kind of stuff. You sit on the bleachers, but I guess afterwards you might want to sit around in the locker room for a minute and chit chat, whatever, or go somewhere, have a bite or um, some type of gathering. So yeah, you being around that dinner table is very critical. However, like you said, today's time, no. It seems like today everybody's bypassing one another. You going and I'm coming. They coming in and then then you just going different directions in the house. And sometimes you don't even see the person. You know they're home, but you hear them, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't get to see them because they either going up to the room or they going in the basement or something passing through. And sometimes as the authority figure, you have to. I did it a few times, but of course, as they got older, it didn't work because they were involved in different sports and different activities and had to go to this game and all this kind of stuff. So it became to the point where the authority figure have to say, you know what, tomorrow when we get home, we're going to sit down and have a talk about some things. What is your schedule for tomorrow? Or pick a day. What's your schedule? You got this going on Monday, this going on Wednesday. What you doing? How about Friday? Friday might be a bad time for them because Friday is the end of the week. They're ready to party. Well, how about just giving up one of your Fridays just for a couple of hours and let us just sit down and talk just for a little while? You don't usually go out and party at 18 years old anyway until about what, 9, 10 o'clock. Nobody going out at 7. So how about that? Everybody's home around 7 o'clock. How about everybody just sit around? Let's just talk about some things. Well, Mama, what we gonna talk about? Oh, we gonna talk about a lot of things. Matter of fact, you all gonna do some talking. I'm gonna listen. and I want to learn some things. What's been going on with you the past couple of months? I haven't had a chance to talk to you. Set the dialogue, and what? Okay, we can order some pizza, order some subs, have them come in delivered. We can sit down. How about that? Sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. But that's where it can start, and then we can have that relationship going on where we can stay in tune with what's going on. It worked for a couple of times. So I think the effort needs to come from the adult in the family to say this. Let's set this time aside. I don't have no meetings from work. I don't have nobody calling me on the phone. None of that. As the adult, we're gonna sit down. It's gonna be our time. No interruptions. Turn your cell phones off or put them on mute.
The group, the millennials,
Yeah.
which I fathered a millennial. They were born in the early 90s, 92, 93, and they're probably around 28, 29 years old now. That we had a relationship with the millennials as far as parents is concerned. But if you look up the characteristics of the millennial group, um, you will find that they felt like the parents were there as providers.
Yeah.
We provided a roof over their heads. We motivated them, told them they could do anything they wanted to in life. But the part that will stand out if you read a study that measured this is that they felt like the opinions of their peers was just as valuable or more valuable than the peers of their parents. And I'm not saying that comes out of a bad relationship. I'm just saying that they felt you could be talking, and I remember talking to my son a lot, and it's almost like, okay, are you finished? It's almost like they felt like they knew what you were going to say before you said it, or maybe they felt like they heard it before. But either way, then you could, if you had if you were a fly on the wall, you could see them going to their friends in their rooms and texting or talking or getting together. What about this? How does this work? They would consult with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that created they hit a wall
Mm-hmm.
as young adults.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of showed that they really didn't listen as much as they should, but they heard us. So they're sort of late bloomers. They're starting to come out now. But I was just wanting to throw that in there that even outside of a good relationship, and it didn't even have to be that they were stubborn or hard headed, in which, I was, but they just felt that status, your parents, when it comes to advice, is limited to just rules. and,
Yeah.
and opinions always have to be second guessed by your friends.
Yeah. And you're right. They have a tendency to listen to their friends, and that's where that was my next step as far as peer pressure go. That peer pressure can be very, very damaging to many people. That peer pressure can lead to suicidal tendencies on a negative connotation of it. That peer pressure can be a negative or a positive. And I say negative because, and I would say at least half the time, when you're talking about peer pressure, you are talking about something negative. Now, I would say it can be positive if you're in a group that's being productive, and that one individual is in that group or with that person, and they see that person is going in a very good direction, going in positive direction. There's a couple of movies, I can't think of them right now, where this was the case with these high schoolers. One was going off, he was accepted in some type of sport, something very professional. And the other one was just in the hood, wasn't trying to do nothing, but they were best buddies right on through school. One of them decided to go do something positive, and the other one decided he didn't want to do nothing.
Mm.
So that relationship eventually went south because they weren't going in the same direction anymore. One thing that my brother told me when I first started in my career: sis, is lonely at the top. all of those relationships that you developed when you were coming up the ladder, they're going to slowly drop off one by one. And he was right, because everybody don't go in the same direction at the same pace. Some people are more aggressive than others. Those relationships will drop off. And the thing is, person who is the aggressor, are you going to be strong enough emotionally to let go of those friends that you had when you were coming up, realizing that you've made a choice? You want to go on up and do better in life, and they want to stay where they are. You don't want to stay where they are. You're trying to bring them up with you, but they're too slow and going around, hee hawing, wasting time, and you trying to do something. So you move on and you end up leaving them behind. And those are the ones that drop off. And you just keep on doing what you're doing, because we all have a different goal in life. Everyone have a different mission. God made each one of us differently. Some of us have a mindset to do better. Some of us have a mindset to stay mediocre. Some of us have a mindset to do absolutely nothing, just enough to get by. That's what some of us have a mindset to do. And so we want to let them know, as we develop these relationships, they can see, oh, this is my best friend. Oh, man, she's going on up and she's going to do this and that and the other. And sometimes you hear about them 25 years later. You are where you are, and they're where they are. And there's no more relationship. Remember, in the beginning, I said some relationships don't last. And they don't last because that's another scenario right there why it don't last, because their interests have divided. And I believe I'm running out of time.
About 2 minutes, 57 seconds.
Okay. I'm only going to name these things. I'm not going to talk on them. But I believe last time I talked about being honest and truthful in a relationship, being able to accept correction. That can be a real stinger in a relationship. Some of us don't want to be corrected. We don't do well with that. And it divides the relationship. Forgiveness, that's a whole different story. Our attitude, that's another thing. And again, I talked about peer pressure already, and rebellion is another thing that might cause a problem. But anyway, since my time is running out, I am going to close with this thought. As we go from one age group to another, we are supposed to learn, and hopefully, with the help of the Lord, we can bring someone with us as we move on. In a game, in some type of sport or something, in cheerleading or what have you, you pass that baton on to the other person so that they can follow your footsteps. But you make good steps so that they can follow and want to follow. That's what we do as we move on, because it's what the Lord wants us to care about other people. Father God, I thank you for this time. I thank you for being who you are. I thank you for these words of encouragement as I pass through, Lord, with this to listen, have those out there who are listening to gain some knowledge and some understanding about what's been said as we pass through this life you've blessed us with. We love you, Lord, and we give you praise and honor and glory. This peer pressure, these youth, Lord, we want to be able to encourage them, but we can't do it without your help. We need you, Lord, this day and every day. Amen. And so we are coming to an end. I thank you all for being with us. Have a good rest of this week. And do be careful with the storms that's coming. I wanted to pray for those people in Florida as well, that the Lord will bless them so that they can survive nicely with whatever is going on. So you all have a good weekend. Until next Wednesday at midnight. I am your host, Nada Manning. Have a great rest of this week and a blessed weekend. Be safe. Amen.
And the A women. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day.
This is Awesome Radio, WBIS LP 106.9.
When a loved one dies or